Fella is gonna keep it a buck 1200 with ya. With so many different heroes in Overwatch 2, some are bound to be easier than others. In today's video, I'm gonna be giving you my top 5 easiest heroes to play in Overwatch 2. Before we do that, make sure to subscribe. We're almost at 1500 metal ingots.
What?
I just want to preface this video that none of these are in any particular order, but they are going to be the top 5 easiest heroes to play in my opinion. First up, we got my boy Soldier. Honestly, if you come from any FPS, he's probably the most intuitive character in the game. He has everything you need to climb out of lower ranks. He has his movement ability and his shift, his E is a heal, his Helix rocket really good for finding executes, very solid ultimate as well. All you have to do with this character is just hit the enemy, right click them when they're low, and get kills that way. Most of the time with Soldier, you want to be playing on high grounds, not to mention he probably is one of the best self-sufficient kits in the entire game. And what do I mean by that? You don't really have to rely on your teammates to actually carry with him. Like I was saying before, he has everything he needs in his kits to find kills, heal himself up, his ultimate's very strong, he doesn't really need anything else. Not to mention his ultimate literally gives him aimbot, so even if you're bad with him, you can just farm up your ultimate and just use it on cooldown. If you have a Mercy pocket as well, he's very easy to contain entire enemy teams with. I know there's a lot of talk about Sojourn and Mercy, but Soldier 76 and Mercy as well is also an insane combo. Literally all you have to do to be good with Soldier is aim half decent and also position half decent, and you'll start to climb ranks very easily. Next, we got our boy Junkrat, absolutely OP as f. Are you even surprised Junkrat's making an appearance on this list? To be honest, he's so overpowered. Literally all you have to do, shoot one bomb, throw your left shift grenade at them, and they instantly die. They're 200 HP, they instantly die. Not to mention Junkrat, you don't even have to aim with him. If you have some idea on how the physics work in this game and bouncing the grenades off the wall, you'll easily farm with him. Not to mention, most of the time, you don't even have to be looking at the enemy when you shoot them. You literally just shoot in their general area, and most of the time, the enemies are just gonna walk into your bombs. Literally every single one of his abilities does 1,000,000 damage. Like, you can one-click 200 HP targets. His trap does 100 damage alone, and his ultimate is absolutely game-changing. The big issues with Junkrat, though, is he does have a few counters, like, for example, Pharah counters him pretty hard. Anything with long range where he can't really get to them. Another example, like Widowmaker, Hanzo, and for tanks, characters like Diva, Zarya. But if the enemy isn't playing those type of characters, Junkrat just absolutely farms games. Like, if your aim isn't that good, Junkrat is definitely the character to play. He doesn't really take that much skill, and his kit is more focused on ability usage. The last DPS on this list is going to be Reaper. In my opinion, Reaper is probably the easiest hero to climb out of low elo with. His shotguns do crazy amounts of damage, and especially at lower elo when people can't aim as well and you just sidestep all their bullets, you can just sit there spamming your shotguns on them and they can't really do anything. His teleport is very good for getting behind the enemy and also allowing you to set up plays with your ultimate. I think one of my favorite parts about Reaper and being easy to play, though, has to be his left shift. His shadow step literally allows him to get out of any sticky situation for free. It's on a very short cooldown, and not to mention the duration of the shadow step is also ridiculous. His ultimate grants him lifesteal, and you literally just jump into the enemy team, press Q, and that's the play of the game, boys. Reaper's entire playstyle, you just look for flanks with your teleport, walk up to the enemies, and just kill them. He's also very good at punishing mispositions by the enemy team, just because his primary fire does so much damage. If they walk too close to you, you can just run them down because your movement speed is also extremely overpowered. To be honest, you need to be playing Reaper if you want to climb as well. He's very intuitive, his ultimate does a ton of damage, and also his kit is extremely strong. Next, we got our girl Moira. Personally, I'm not really a fan of Moira, but she is extremely easy to play. Before you even load into a game with Moira, though, I think you just switch the primary fire and the secondary fire, so your damage is on your left click and your heal is on your right click. Now, obviously, Blizzard, they want Moira to be a support, but we already know you're picking Moira to do some DPS, fellas. In my opinion, she has a pretty decent kit. The only downside to her, she doesn't really have that much utility. Her shadow step is very good for getting in and out of team fights. Her primary fire actually does quite a bit of damage, and she has some of the best healing output in the entire game. Just don't be that guy that's literally DPSing the entire game, but for the most part, if you are DPSing, it's probably fine. The thing about Moira and what makes her so easy to play is just because she's so evasive, and the fact that her mouse one, you don't really even have to aim to use it. Her shadow step is on a very short cooldown, very evasive ability, and her ultimate is also very, very strong. If you can track enemies somewhat decently, you'll be a menace with Moira. I'm not saying I like Moira, but if I was learning the game and I'm looking for easy heroes to play, Moira is definitely up there. Kicking off our honorable mentions, we have Lucio.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now at the highest levels of play, Lucio is extremely powerful. Here's the thing, Lucio, he's one of those characters that's easy to learn, but hard to master. Fundamentally, his kit is pretty straightforward. His right click is boops away enemies, can switch between healing and speed, then also he has his amp giving increased speed or healing. Not to mention, he probably has one of, if not the best ultimate in the entire game. In combination with using his speed boost and his ultimate, it's pretty much a free teamfight win every time. The only problems with Lucio though is the mastery of him. Once you're able to use his movement effectively and wall climb, you'll absolutely destroy your games. But the thing is, until you master that, he's pretty hard to play. Kind of just move side to side, back and forth with him. Now, one of the things that makes him very easy to play is when you communicate. If you communicate with your team saying, hey, I'm gonna speed boost us in now, and your teammates actually follow through, he can be very, very strong. Due to him being hard to master and kind of having to rely on communication, he didn't make the list. El Lucio, El Lucio. The last honorable mention, we got Winstonio. Winstonio, like many others on this list, has a pretty straightforward kit. He uses his jump and bubble to make space for his team, while also cleaving a bunch of enemies that are in front of him. Now, the reason why I didn't put Winston on this list originally is because you'd actually be surprised the amount of people that don't know how to play him correctly. Let me dumb it down for you. All you have to do to play Winston is wait for your bubble to jump in. You literally jump in, take a little bit of space, and just rinse and repeat. Not to mention, when teamfights get a little bit disruptive, you can just jump on their supports and you basically just win the team fight. Especially in lower elo, nobody really knows how to communicate, so if you jump on their supports in a team fight, then more than likely you're probably going to kill one of them. I just can't tell you the amount of times where I see Winston's drop their bubble and then jump in afterwards. Winston's bubble is what makes his entire kit. If you play around it correctly, you'll actually start to farm everybody. Not to mention, his ultimate is a great disruptor tool, disrupting enemy team fights. More than likely you're not going to kill anybody with it, but if you pop your ultimate when you're at like 150 HP, you instantly go up to 1000. Also, what makes Winston really easy to play is he doesn't even have to aim. You just aim in the general vicinity of your gun. That's what we like to call Winston aim, fellas. The last hero I'm going to include on this list, it has to be Ramattra. Think about it. This character, ranged and melee tank, extremely overloaded kit. When you use your wall, the enemy won't even be able to break it by the time it expires. The snare is very easy to use. You go in your melee form, you right click and block. His ultimate is probably one of the best ultimates in the game right now as well. Literally, all you have to do on Ramattra, farm up your little ultimate using your ranged ability, occasionally switch to your nemesis form, run at them, you know, press W, and then when it's time, you just run at the enemy, press Q, and then you don't even have to look at them. You just suck them. And then eventually they're all just gonna die in the team fight because it lasts infinitely. I'm not gonna lie, when learning Ramattra, it took me maybe 1 to 2 games to actually get a hang of him. Most characters in the game, it could take upwards 5, 10, maybe even 20 games, depending on how hard the character is. But Ramattra feels pretty nice, flows very smoothly, honestly very easy to play. I think it also helps that he's just extremely overpowered right now. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of the list down below. Like the video, subscribe. My name is Halzeey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.